right, guys, we're going to talk about Anheuser Busch and InBev. Of course, that is who owns Budweiser, Bud Light, and as we've chronicled on this channel, there's been massive amounts of backlash against Bud Light and Anheuser Busch for entering into a marketing campaign with a biological man known as Dylan Mulvaney. Of course, Dylan Mulvaney is a TikTok star who portrays himself as a little girl out there. Well, Bud Light chose to make some cans in honor of Dylan Mulvaney, and that was a terrible idea. A terrible idea that's cost them billions of dollars, and as we know, recently they entered into a partnership with UFC, and that's backfired on Dana White and UFC because a lot of people are canceling ESPN Plus and canceling UFC Fight Pass. I've said this is the one boycott that worked. It absolutely worked. It was an easy switch for a lot of people to just say, you know what? I'm drinking a different kind of beer. That's all there is to it. Now, I know some people have been critical of the boycott because of people that work for Bud Light, etc., distributors, marketing people. I get it. But at some point, people were going to have to draw the line with one of these companies at some point in time. And because of that, and this is just, I'm going to say it, you better be ready to pivot. If you're working for any corporation out there, you better be ready to pivot. I mean, as soon as this kind of started happening, you realize after a couple of weeks, I better start sending resumes out to other distributors, other marketing company, merchandising companies that I can go to work for, because this is not going to be good. Bud Light product is still not moving. Not only is it still not moving, the latest numbers have come in, and they're an absolute train wreck. They're a dumpster fire. Still, they continue to see a tumble in sales from quarter to quarter to quarter. It's really bad. And no, I don't think, I've seen people, well, they've admitted their mistake if they got into bed with UFC. No, I'm sure they overpaid to get in with UFC because they know the UFC demographic. But it doesn't matter. They didn't understand. People would quit watching UFC, or if they chose to keep watching UFC, they just weren't going to buy Bud Light. Okay, but I don't think for a second that that's going to help Anheuser Busch. I really don't. And so the third quarter numbers have come in, and they're bad. Anheuser Busch InBev on Tuesday reported a staggering 13.5% decline in U.S. revenue in the third quarter as the company's brand, Bud Light brand, continues to suffer in the country after a controversial partnership with transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney in the spring. Think about that. This is just a continuation of the decline starting back in April. Actually, I think it was March Madness is when that first rolled out, and then, boy, it was off to the races. Sales of Bud Light began to tumble in the U.S. in April, not long after the brand created and sent custom beer cans to Mulvaney to mark her 365 days of girlhood. Mark his 365 days of pretend. That's a year-long bout of pretending. That move and comments from Bud Light marketing vice president at the time sparked calls for beer drinkers to shun the brand, and the boycott took hold. Yeah, the marketing person they had hired, who, by the way, all those people have been fired, but the marketing person at the time came out and said, well, we were trying to get rid of our frat boy image. Really? Blue-collar people, hard workers, the frat boys even? That's a bad thing, because it is those people that built your brand and made you all this money all these years. You turned your back on hardworking Americans that have strong, solid, traditional ideals. That's a bad idea for a company that built its brand on the American flag and Clydesdales. I mean, let's be real. The global brewing conglomerate also reported a 17.1% decline in North American sales volume during the third quarter. The North American sales fell 14.5% in the prior quarter. when Bud Light brand lost its long-standing title as the best-selling beer in the U.S. after being eclipsed by Modelo y Especial, which is owned by Constellation Brands, who is not owned by Anheuser Busch. It is not. I always have to clarify that. Out in North America, it is not held by Anheuser Busch. Outside North America, AB InBev experienced growth in roughly 80 markets, including Middle Americas and Africa. Total volume fell by 3.4%, mostly due to the significant drop in sales in U.S. sales. Imagine that. Just sales in the U.S. has managed to bring them down in other places. As AB InBev attempts to rehabilitate the Bud Light brand's image in North American market, the company recently scored a victory of its own over Modelo after replacing the Mexican lager as the official beer partner of UFC. It goes on to talk about that's a 6-year deal, and good luck to UFC at this point, and it talks about the fact, and I did watch I watched a little bit, the beginning of this Sean Hannity interview with Dana White, the day that it happened, and I was quickly reminded why I don't watch Sean Hannity anymore and haven't for quite some time. He's just completely out of touch. I think Sean Hannity is out of touch with the America First movement, frankly. He's one of standard operating procedure Fox News talking heads at this point because he come right out. I don't support boycotts. I don't blah, blah, blah. Look, there's nobody that's wanting to cancel anybody. We don't go around seeking to cancel anybody. That's not our gig. But you waded into the wrong waters when you had Dylan Mulvaney get involved with a traditionally bought and consumed all-American product. It was a bad idea. And it was, like I said, it was an easy switch for people. And there was a certain amount of enough is enough is enough. We've sat back, watched all these companies get in bed with, Amazon, the BLM, all these companies they got involved with, supporting these radical ESG and DEI agendas. And it was so startling that beer can, the bathtub thing that you guys see in thumbnails with Dylan Mulvaney in it, and it was just enough. Combined with the fact that there was so much outrage over indoctrination into schools, Dylan Mulvaney's TikTok audience is under 18. It's under 21. Well, why in the world would Bud Light ever send that guy anything? It never made sense unless you're trying to reach his audience, which was underage. That was a bad idea. A lot of people interpreted it as, well, it's a more radical LGBTQ indoctrination tactic towards our children. You bet your ass. A lot of people got pissed, and rightfully so. So, as you can see here, now it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are like after the UFC thing. But I can tell you, they've overpaid to get involved with the NFL. They've overpaid to get involved with the WWE. They've been involved with the WWE. They were a sponsorship of one of the pay-per-views from back like in June or something. Well, here we are, third quarter numbers, they're trash. That doesn't work. It's not going to make people buy your product, and not only that, people are not stupid. They realize what you're trying to do and what consumer you're trying to reach. They're still not going to buy your beer. In fact, they're going to continue to boycott and not buy your beer out of spite. How about that? Rightfully so. Yeah. We can be spiteful when we want to. Let's put it that way. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.